All right, the law of supply. For this analysis, we're going to be trying to think in terms of the seller, and if we were the business owner, if we were the seller of merchandise, how would we behave? And so what we're going to see is that there is a positive relationship from the seller's standpoint between price and quantity. So if we're going to draw a supply curve, we're going to put P on the vertical axis and Q on the horizontal axis, and we see an upward sloping or positively sloped supply curve because there is this positive relationship between price and quantity. At the lower price, P1, we would want to bring and sell in the marketplace a smaller quantity of units at Q1 than if the price was higher at P2, where we would want a larger quantity of units at Q2. So quantities are increasing out to the right, prices are increasing as we move vertically up the y-axis, and so positive relationship between price and quantity. And as we move along the stationary supply curve, we would call those different points along that supply curve a change in the quantity supplied. When price changes, the quantity supplied changes. So price and the word quantity go together. Now, where the supply curve is located is going to be dependent on one of four factors. And if one of those extra outside of price or non-price factors changes, then it causes the supply curve to shift or jump to an entirely new location. Those four factors of supply are technology, input prices, expectations, and the number of sellers. And the handy little acronym would be TIES: technology, input prices, expectations, and number of sellers. So let's look at a change in technology. Let's say we start with supply curve 1 with a given state of technology in our world. If there is a technological advance and we go from hand production to mechanized production, or a process innovation that allows all companies within an industry to produce more quickly and at lower cost, then an increase or improvement in technology shifts the supply curve outward to the right to greater quantities at every price level. So we're not talking about price changes, we're talking about a non-price factor of technology improving and the curve shifting, jumping to a new location from S1 out to S2. And if the reverse occurred, sort of a bad thing, a decrease in technology because of some natural disaster or a plague or war, then a decrease in technology would shift the supply curve inward toward the origin, back to the left. What about input prices? So as producers of a good, we use some forms of input to produce our product or service. If the costs of our input rises, so it becomes more expensive to get the necessary ingredients or to pay our workers, then at every price level, the good is more costly to produce, so we're going to make fewer units, and that leads to a leftward or inward shift of the supply curve. Converse is true as well. If good things happen and the costs of our input fall, then we shift the supply curve out toward the right. Increase in supply to the right, decrease in supply to the left. Now, expectations. What do sellers believe about the future prices in their market? This is not about their expectations of the product. It is, what do they think will be the market price in the future relative to where we are today? And so we've got the supply curve S1, and if sellers believe the price of their product is going to fall, the market price will fall in the future, then they increase the supply today to try and take advantage of the higher prices that exist today. So expected lower future price leads to an increase in supply today from S1 to S2. Conversely, if we expect higher prices in the future, then we don't want to sell today. We decrease supply today to take advantage of the expected higher prices in the future. So there'd be a decrease in supply today, a left or inward shift of the supply curve from S1 to S3 if we believe prices will increase in the future. This is probably the hardest one of the 4 factors for students to grasp. Now, lastly, the number of sellers. And this one may seem sort of intuitively obvious, almost insulting to your intelligence. Of course, if there are more sellers, we have more supply. And if there are fewer sellers, we have fewer supply less supply being brought to the marketplace. We're going to revisit this particular factor when we start to talk about cost structure and how firms decide how many units to bring, because the number of sellers can change. We're just not at a point to discover why the number of sellers may change. But it seems pretty clear. If we have more sellers, we sell more. Supply curve would shift from S to S1 out to the right. And if we have fewer sellers, the overall supply would decrease, shift left inward, S to S3. So when the entire supply curve shifts, it's caused by one of the non-price factors, TIES. We call this a change in supply. So in order for the entire supply curve to shift, you have to justify it with a change in technology, input prices, expectations, or a change in the number of sellers. If you can't come up with a reason that one of those 4 factors has changed, then you can't draw the supply curve shifting in one direction or the other. Price has nothing to do with it. It has to be caused by a change in one of the factors. And so for class, I'd like you to think about the following example. Your company produces strawberry jam. Draw a graph that shows the market effect of an increase in the price of strawberries. What non-price factor would explain this? What effect will there be on the market price? What will be the effect on the size of the market Q? And give a brief explanation.